Okay. Um, Good afternoon. Welcome to Saskatoon Testing Discussion Group for our May gathering. In our effort in this, our fourth season, to mix things up, we're going to have more of a formal presentation. This is so it'll be a bit longer, a little bit less discussion. I will leave lots of time at the end for questions. Hopefully you all know me. I'm Jason Coutu. And this is a talk I wrote about a year ago, a little bit more, about helping those around you to become passionate about testing. And that's sort of what it's formally about, but it's a little bit sort of more about how to be a passionate tester yourself and what that does for those around you. So the talk is called to have and to, well, we all know the famous wedding vows, to have and to hold for this day forward, because it's cheeky, but when you say the word passion, that's what comes to mind first for most people. Two things are going to come to mind when you say when you want to talk about passion. They think you're either going to talk about relationships, or you're going to talk about being a fanatic for some sports team, like you own every piece of memorabilia about Joe Montana because you're passionate about football. So yeah, the title is a little bit cheeky, to have and to. But there's lots of things in my life that I'm passionate about. Of course, I'm passionate about my wife, and I'm passionate about the sports I'm involved in. I've even been passionate about my hobbies. I used to be an incredibly passionate RC aviator. I own 8 RC helicopters, 6 RC airplanes, and I have spent more money on that hobby than I probably should have, because I was really passionate about it. But let's first take a look at the word passion and about what it means in some other contexts, so that we can bring it back to what it means to be a passionate tester. There is a link. Honestly, there is. So, as I said, people are passionate about many things: hobbies, sports, relationships. I've had quite a few hobbies over the years. As I said, I used to be a rabid RC aviation enthusiast, and I've been a passionate sports fan. I know when all the rider games are. If I can't watch them, I listen to them. I'm nowhere near as passionate as my father is about the Rough Riders. He can tell you who the names of every player on every team for the past 30 years. Like he knows his riders. We've all met passionate sports fans. This is Saskatchewan. We have the Riders, we have the Rush, and we have that other winter sport, speed skating. Gotcha. Seriously though, we can tell when someone's passionate about their sport or their hobby, because you can't spend a lot of time with them without them talking about it. So why can't we see those in testing? Well, we can. We all know at least one person who's passionate about testing, and will talk to you about testing even while you're changing tires on a van. So what does passion mean in a relationship? Well, I'm not actually going to talk about what passion in a relationship. Let's talk about the effects of passion in a relationship. It steers and defines your relationship. Some people terminate relationships because the passion is no longer there. Some people enter new relationships because the passion is there. Your friends are probably not people you're passionate about, but they are likely people that have some passions that are your passions, or you've at least become interested in because they are passionate about it. Passion is shared. Passion is grown. Your friends' passions become your interests. They may eventually become your passions. Passions will steer how you spend your time. If you're not passionate about your spouse, you're probably not spending a lot of time with them. I love my wife. We've been married 16 years, and I'm still very passionate about her, much to the chagrin of my children. I'm also passionate. Let's get to a slightly safer topic than talking about my wife. Sports. Let's stay safe. I'm passionate about speed skating. I can tell you who the current members of the national team and the junior national team for Canada in long track speed skating are. I'm starting to learn who the short track speed skating up-and-comers are because my daughter wants to be one of them. But I've been doing and involved in speed skating for longer than I've had children. I discovered it late in life and fell in love with it, and I'm passionate about it. In the past 18 months, I have spent 28 to 32 weekends devoting my time for that entire weekend to speed skating. Now, bear in mind, speed skating is an event that I only do from end of October to the end of March. So in the past 18 months, I really mean in 12 of the past 18 months, I gave up 80% of my weekends for speed skating. Well, what does that mean? Well, I spent time coaching it. I spent time officiating it. I spent time teaching it and coaching it and mentoring it. I even spent some time doing it myself because I enjoy it. I even take my professional talents as a developer and as a QA analyst, and I develop custom software for speed skating. I assess other people's custom software for speed skating and give them feedback on it for improvement. Speed skating, for me, is probably the thing, other than my wife, that I am the most passionate about. It has invaded my professional life, my personal life, my family life, and every one of my friends, unfortunately knows what I look like in a speed suit. Warning, passion doesn't last forever. Think back. What did I say right at the beginning? I used to be a passionate RC aviation enthusiast. I didn't say I fly. I own a lot of aircraft. I spent a lot of money. This passion waned for me. It is no longer one of my passions. Why? It waned because I couldn't share it. It's like a box of matches. You light one match, it burns bright and hot for a little while. If there's no more fuel, it goes out. Passion, like flame, needs fuel, and it needs to be shared. Otherwise, it sputters and goes out. You need to find others to share your passion with. I was by myself. I flew my airplanes. I enjoyed it. I loved it, but I was always alone. There was never anybody with me. There are other RC aviation enthusiasts in the city, but I wasn't connected with them. I couldn't share my passion with them because their version of passion for RC aviation didn't match my version of passion for RC aviation. It's like saying you're passionate about development, but you mean strictly waterfall. And the only group in town to talk to does agile. Whoops. You can go to the meetings. You can share. It will help. but it doesn't fuel the way you want it to. All is not lost. Passion can be rekindled. What rekindles your what can rekindle the passion? I started flying again recently. I went in the basement and I looked at all of the planes and said, I really enjoyed flying that. My daughter walked up beside me and said, "How come you never fly anymore?" I said, "Well, I can fly all these planes. There's no challenge. There's nothing new for me to do. There's no one to do it with. I'd rather spend time with you. What do you want to do?" "I want to fly that one." "Okay, let's go fly it." My children became a person for me to mentor in RC flight, to share that passion with, to share my knowledge with. It gave me a place to mentor, to teach, to share, to talk. So, how do we apply what I know about my passion from speed skating? A group where 5 years ago, I was the only certified, it's called recorder, in Saskatchewan. We used to have 3. They retired. I was the only one left. As of the end of this season, we have 8, and we have 3 right here in Saskatoon. I've trained and mentored and nurtured them all. They're not quite as passionate about it as I am, but they're coming. They just haven't spent enough time with me yet. So show your passion. People cannot, if you're going to be passionate about testing, other people need to be able to see that you're passionate about testing so they can either steer clear or steer towards, so that you can share it and rekindle it if it was there before, or start it if it was never there. So and this is the last slide. I've gone through the slides a little bit faster than I did last time I did this talk, because frankly I'm nervous. This is the local crowd. Last time I could tell stories and I didn't have to worry about anybody calling me on them. And this is probably the meatiest slide in the entire slide deck. So in reality, what does this mean? In reality, this means I started at Vendasta 5 years ago as the only testing specialist here. Over my time here, I hired 13 other testing specialists, and they've all come to, if not enjoy testing, become better testers. Attend things like this to become better testers. What did I do to take 13 people who had no previous interest, save Manish, in testing, and turn them into people who wanted to come to work with me so that they could do more testing? Well, Lean Coffee, if you've never heard of it, is a meeting format where discussion is derived by the participants. It allows you to have a discussion around a topic with a group of like-minded individuals and not have to worry about what the precise topics will be, because it comes from the people who are there. Discussions are always interesting. There's always something somebody wants to ask, but they just haven't had a chance. I love Lean Coffee. I used to do it every half an hour every week with the staff here. I want to start it up again because it's something we lost here at Vendasta recently, and I really think the testing specialists here at Vendasta are missing it. Dojo training session every week for staff. We used to take 3 hours every week. We called it Dojo. We locked ourselves in a room and we learned to become better testers. I didn't always lead it, but we set aside time to learn and to grow. It's got a different name now. This still exists here at Vendasta, and it's grown. We have non-test specialists attending it now so that they can learn more about testing. Monthly discussion group for the community. Let's be honest. I started Saskatoon Testing Discussion Group, in an entirely selfish reason. I wanted other people to talk to about testing, because there's only so much reading I can do and still be interested in testing. I want to hear about the challenges Kirby has faced, the challenges Manish has faced in the past week. What have they learned through experience so that I don't have to make that mistake? There's a military axiom that learning from your opponent's mistakes is the cheapest way to learn. You're not my opponents, but if I can learn from others' mistakes or others' learning opportunities, that magnifies my ability to learn, because I can learn from my experiences, I can learn from your experiences. Hey, I've got twice the amount of learning going on because I can't spend all of my time and all of the time you spent on that learning. So, monthly discussion group. I started it, as I said, selfishly, so that I could have people to talk to, I could have people to learn with, people to point out where my learning is lacking, and so that and where I need to grow. I read a lot of blogs. I write a blog. I should say wrote. I haven't updated it in almost a year. I need to update it. And it was actually probably one of the biggest things I did to give me a better in-depth understanding of the topics I was wrestling with at the time, was to write the blog, get feedback from the community on what I wrote, and spend some time concentratingly thinking about what does this testing technique mean? What does it mean to me? What does it mean to others? It was wonderful. And the last two sort of roll together. I stay connected with the larger testing community, not just our local testing community. I'm on LinkedIn discussions. I'm on Twitter discussions. I do mentoring and with the staff here at Vendasta and with externals. I've had mentees in New York and in Regina and Calgary, people that aren't local to me but have met me and just want an external source of what should I learn next. If you've never been a mentor, it's a great experience where it's not just a download of information to someone else. It's a challenge to someone else to help them learn, but it also forces you to learn because they'll run into things you've never seen before, and they're going to come to you for help. So that's the end of my slides. I thought this slide deck was about twice as long and twice as detailed, but I seem to have misplaced the final version of it. There was a lot more jokes in the original one, a lot more stories, probably about my wife, so probably not the best thing to record and put on YouTube. But this idea of passion in what we do, I think it's really important that, straight opinion, right? I think it's really important that even if what we're doing is a job, there has to be some element of it that we can be interested in and excited in, so that we want to do things like come out at lunch and get better. And I think if we do those things and thus show our passion, those around us will become interested in becoming better themselves. Maybe not in the things what we're interested in, but maybe in sharing the things that they're interested in. And shared passions, even if they're not the same passions, help us keep our passions alive. So this is going to be dangerous. I have the football. Dale, can you hit the unmute button for the football channel? There's, okay, football's alive. really tinny. Questions? Comments?
So you've covered taking somebody from interested in testing to being passionate. What about getting somebody interested? Like, so maybe somebody's making a software service and, you know, they're not already interested in testing. So how do you so like the jump, I think, from interested to passionate is a good one, but also from how do you do not interested to interested?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna.
Start with trying to show them value. Once you show value, you can drive interest.
Absolutely. As I said, when I started here at Vendasta, I was the only tester here, and we hired more testers because the developers saw the value in what I was doing for a subset of the developers, because there wasn't enough of me to go around. They became interested in the testing role. They didn't want to do it themselves, which, okay, some people just won't become interested in it. But they became interested enough in it that they wanted someone like that to interact with them. And then once they had someone like that to interact with, and they learned, again, they're still not, a lot of it is aptitude, honestly. I could probably work with just about anyone to teach them skills of testing. Whether or not they become good at those skills will mostly depend on aptitude. Are they interested enough? And once they're interested enough, can I flame their can I help them become passionate about it? But Dale's absolutely right. If no one sees the value in it, like on a professional setting, no one sees the value in it, they're never going to become interested in it. If they never become interested in it, they're never going to become passionate in it. So that's why when I hired testers, I didn't look for people who already knew how to test. I looked for people who had the right interests and the right aptitudes to be good at testing. Because once they're good at testing, once you're good at something, it's easier to become passionate about it. Really rambly answer. Sorry. Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry.
Just a smack.
Hello?
There.
Yeah. So this is,
Channel down a hair.
yeah.
There.
So how much do you spend on your RC helicopters and
Over the course of a decade, I bought 5 different transmitters, 10 airplanes, 12 helicopters. I've probably spent in excess of $5,000. Please, somebody erase that before my wife hears it. It was spread out over a long time. It was a bit here and there. Ask me how much I've spent on skating. That's a far scarier number. Because, as I said, I'm spending 80% plus of my weekends on skating. I'm driving on average 6 to 12 hours on the highway a weekend to support skating. I'm staying in hotels. I'm flying across the country. Yeah, no, my biggest passion, of course, costs the most money. That being said, I spend a lot of time on testing, but not as much money, because it's harder to spend money on testing because it's something I can do. I don't need to go anywhere to do it. The only time I need to go anywhere is to meet other testers, and so I go to testing conferences every year, where I meet other testers. I go to testing conferences that do the types of testing I'm interested in. There's lots of testing conferences every year, some of which I will never go to because they revolve around styles or techniques in testing that I'm not interested in doing. I'm not a performance tester. It's not something that's interested me. I know lots of people that are really good at it, and they go to those conferences and they learn and they're great. And if I ever needed performance testing done, I would hire one of them in a heartbeat. That's not what I'm interested in. So I don't go to those conferences, but I do go to the conferences that have people that I'm very interested in. I'm a member of the Association for Software Testing. They have an annual conference. That group is all about context-based testing, exploratory testing, session-based testing, all of those agile forms of testing. They have a great conference. It's actually in Vancouver this year. And so it's a wonderful group of people. It's a smaller conference, so it's a lot of talking to other people. On the other side of the spectrum, we've been getting into a lot more test automation here at Vendasta, and that's interesting. So I've started attending the Google Test Automation Conference. That's a far larger conference than the CAST conference is, and the topics are very different, because they're all about how to get the most bang for your buck out of automation. What are the pieces that we previously couldn't automate that someone has discovered how to automate? I'll probably try to go to Google Test Automation Conference again this year, because the levels of automation we're doing here at Vendasta are increasing every year. So it's probably a more important conference for me to go to this year.
Personality of someone who can become passionate and keep the passion. So I find myself, I'm guilty of, I'll get into it, I love it, I'll learn it to a certain point, and then it wanes because I'm going to find something else that's going to catch me. So how do you make sure you keep that years?
That's a great point. I talked about my RC hobby as something that I was very strongly passionate about. It waned, and now it started to come back. What I didn't talk about, and might have even been better, is I used to be a gamer. StarCraft, first-person shooters, all that stuff. And, like, a new game would come out, and I would spend any free time I had playing that game. And it would get to a point where I just stopped, cold turkey. I wasn't interested in it anymore. A new game had caught my attention, and now the old game had. And I think that's kind of what you're referencing, is this topics can be really, really interesting until you get to the point where there is no new challenges, no new inspiration, no one to talk to about it, to get those inspirations and challenges from. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, is if you're looking at something that you want to be a long-term passion, you need to find ways to constantly find new challenges and new inspirations. One of the best ways of finding new challenges and new inspirations is other people, talking to them. What were their recent challenges? Maybe it's something you've already solved, Maybe it's something you haven't solved, and it will, and you can help them. Maybe they solved it in a way you've never thought of before, and their solution for that makes you think about something that you ran into and you decided not to deal with because you didn't have any ideas on how to deal with it. And now this other solution from a different domain has inspired you to try and solve that problem in a different way. Without my personality is I want to solve problems. I desperately want to solve problems, which means I want to find the root of the problems. It's probably one of the things that puts me in a testing aptitude is there's a problem. What's the cause? Let's solve it. Now give me a new problem. So how do I stay passionate about testing? I constantly find new problems. I work at a development shop where we're constantly doing different things. So I'm constantly challenged here. And so that's helped me stay passionate about testing. Skating, I'm constantly developing new software, so it's helped keep me passionate there. I've got new levels to earn, new specialties to learn. I'm always being challenged, and that's probably the biggest thing is once the challenge goes away, for me, I lose interest. Once I lose interest, the passion is gone. I have successfully reignited my passion for various video games that I used to play 20 hours a week. I may play 2 or 3 hours a week of them now. I don't have the same level of passion, but I'm still engaged with them. And I can ramp that up if something happens to challenge me. It may die off. For some of those things, it'll never get back to the original passion level. But finding people to share it with, probably the only reason I play StarCraft 2 at all anymore is because there's a group of players here at Vendasta that I can play it with. We can talk about it at lunch. I can share that game with them. I can bond with them over it. And that's kept me in it when I probably would have stopped playing it 2 years ago otherwise. More or less an answer to the question.
Well, when you're hiring all these different people for testers, have you found one personality, that trait that's going to, that you see this is going to continue on, not just be a flash?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, over the course of 5 years, I've hired 13 different testers here at Vendasta. And I almost uniformly look for a single trait in the testers. I test for aptitude, but there's one trait I hone in on, and it's not really a secret. The people who work here with me probably know what it is, but they might not have realized it. I look for people who, when given an easy problem that's easy to solve, but not hard to diagnose why it became a problem, keep digging until they know what the problem is. It's the easiest question when I interview. You go into your office and you need to send an email within the next half hour, and you can't send an email from your computer. What do? And I watch what steps they go through to diagnose the problem. There's an easy solution. There's a computer 2 doors down that they can use to send that email. The people that tell me that they would go to that computer and send the email and go home and tell IT on Monday that their computer couldn't send an email, I've never hired one of those. The people I have hired are the people who sent the email and went back to their computer to figure out why it didn't send the email and kept digging until they found out that I had unplugged the Ethernet cable. It was a simple problem. Hard to diagnose, easy out, but they found the problem so that they could fix the problem. Those are the people I hire. And I've done very well over 5 years. 5 years here and 6 years at a previous place. So 11 years of hiring experience. I've had one person change from a software developer, from a tester to a software developer in test. And I've had one person change from a tester to a business analyst. But when he changed to a business analyst, one of the business analysts came over and became a tester. So I know I'm in a small market and I get to be really picky about who I hire, but I've got percentages that I'm proud of for getting people into the career and keeping them into the career by sharing my passion, but sharing my passion with people I've been picky about that I'm pretty sure have the right aptitude to pick it up. The room is very quiet. Thank you very much for coming out. We have one more session this season. This will be the end of our 4th season. We will start working on the 5th season right away. The advisory group will get together to start talking about 5th season. I can't yet announce our season-ending session. I haven't got the speaker confirmed yet. I am working on it. But I will try to make sure that we get it announced with... We are working on getting these announced earlier than we have been lately. I know the last couple have only had about a week's notice, and I'd prefer to have between 2 and 4 weeks notice. I'd love to announce the next session every time at the end so that you knew what to look forward to the next month. But keep your eyes on... however you keep in touch with us, whether it be Google+, Facebook, or Meetup. We are running all 3 of those still. We might even have a website soon. That would be awesome. So yeah, we'll be in touch. Expect it to be in about a month. I'm hoping to still have it 3rd Wednesday at lunch, but given that we're trying to get a guest speaker from the States to remote in for us, we might have to move it around a little bit, but we'll be in touch. Thank you very much for coming out to the May gathering of Saskatoon Testing Discussion Group.